Hello dear students, welcome to the lecture series on the subject botany. Today our topic is taxonomy and diversity of Apiaceae. Dear students, we all know about carrot. We eat it as a vegetable. We also know about spices like coriander, cumin, fennel, etc. These spices make our food tasty. Do you know? These different types of plants, whether carrot or cumin, they all belong to a single botanical family known as Apiaceae. So, let us today discuss this family Apiaceae. In today's lecture, these aspects of the family Apiaceae will be discussed. Number 1, taxonomy of Apiaceae. Second, systematic position. Third, phylogeny. Fourth, diversity. And fifth, economic importance of Apiaceae. So, let us first discuss taxonomy. Apiaceae is commonly known as carrot family. The family was first of all established as a formal taxonomic category under the name Umbelliferae and not Apiaceae by A.L.T. Chisu. Later on, the present name, that is the Apiaceae, was given as an alternate family name by taxonomist Linley. Why there was necessity for this alternate family name Apiaceae from its previous name Umbelliferae? This alternate name was necessitated due to the typification rule of International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. However, at the same time, Umbelliferae, that is the previous name, was also retained as family name due to its wide usage. This previous name, that is the Umbelliferae, is basically derived from its inflorescence, which is generally in the form of a compound umbel. What is this umbel? The term umbel refers to the flat-topped or convex inflorescence with pedicels that are attached at one point. The term umbel has the same root as the common word umbrella. The family members of Apiaceae, they show some unique characters, what we call as diagnostic characters. These are usually herbs with sheathing leaves, and these leaves are often decompound. The flowers have a bicarpellate and bilocular inferior ovary, and the fruit is a schizocarp of mericarps. After discussing these diagnostic features, now let us discuss its habit. The members of the family Apiaceae, they are either annual, biennial or perennial herbs, but mostly these are aromatic. The members can be sometimes, but very rarely, they can be shrubs. Example is Eryngium giganteum. Or we also see some of the members in the family Apiaceae having a climbing habit. They are climbers. An example is Pseudocarpum. Or we can have some members of the family Apiaceae which are cushion forming. Example is Azorella. Now the root, as it is a dicot, here the root is a typical taproot system. Now let us discuss the stem. Stem in the Apiaceae is usually pistular, that means hollow, because the internodal regions in this stem, they are often hollow. These stems are occasionally succulent, what we see in Chrysanthemum. These stems are also associated with secretory canals which contain ethereal oils and resins. Also, they contain triterpenoid saponins, coumarins, folquarine, polyestylenes, monoterpenes, and sesquiterpenes. A characteristic phytochemical by the name of umbelliferose is present in Apiaceae. What is this umbelliferose? It is a trisaccharide which occurs as a carbohydrate storage product. The stems are always associated with hairs, what is called as pubescent, and these hairs are of various types. Now the leaves. The leaves are alternately arranged and they show a spiral fashion. But rarely we see, in some cases, example is here the Apiaceae, where the leaves are opposite. The leaves are mostly petiolate and they have a broad sheathing base. The leaves are exstipulate and sometimes they can be with stipular flanges. The leaves are not simple, but they can be pinnately or palmately compound. But often we see that these leaves are decompound. That means they have no shape. But there are some rare cases where the leaves in Apiaceae, they are simple. The common example is Buplurium. In such cases, when the leaves are simple, they are deeply dissected or there are lobes. The leaf margins are very rarely entire. That means smooth margins. The example is hydrocotyle. The leaf veneation in Apiaceae, it can be either pinnate or palmate. Now let us discuss the floral morphology, starting with its inflorescence. The inflorescence in Apiaceae is usually terminal and it can be either simple umbel or a compound umbel. These umbels are often subtended by involucres of brackets. Sometimes these umbels can be condensed. They are aggregated into a head-like structure called as pseudo-head. The common example is eryngium. And very occasionally, these inflorescences can be reduced to a single flower or a dichasium. Now the individual flower. The flowers in the case of Apiaceae, they are very small, but they are usually pedicellate. But rarely we see the flowers are also sessile. Examples again is the eryngium. The flowers are usually bracteate, most commonly bracteate. But there are some examples like funiculum where we have abracteate. The flowers are also pentamerous. That means the floral parts are 5 or the multiples of 5. The flowers are usually bisexual, but the marginal flowers in an umbel, they can be sometimes sterile. Very rarely we have some examples where the flowers are unisexual. The example is echinophora. The flowers are commonly actinomorphic and they are epigynous. Now the individual parts of the flowers starting from the outer whorl called as calyx. Calyx comprises of, as usual, the sepals. The number of sepals in case of Apiaceae flowers are 5. And these sepals, they are adnate. Adnation means fusion. They are fused to the ovary. These sepals, they are aposepalous, that means free, with 5 lobes. These lobes, they are often reduced or sometimes they can be even absent. Now the second whorl, what we call as corolla. Corolla comprised of the petals, and the number of petals in the case of Apiaceae flowers are 5. But we have some instances where we have these petals completely absent. These petals again, they are apopetalous and they develop from a ring primordium. Usually these are usually inflexed and they show an aestivation called as velvet. Now the androecium, that is the male part of the flower. Androecium comprises of 5 stamens which are inflexed in its bud stage. These stamens, they are exerted. What is meant by this exerted? These stamens, they protrude beyond the perianth when the flowers are open. This is called as exerted. These stamens, they are whorled and they show an alternate petalous arrangement. And they are again apostamonous. That means they are free from each other. The filaments, in the case of these flowers, they are free, and then third part, that is the anthers, they are bithecous. They are dorsifixed or basifixed. These anthers, they are tetrasporangiate they are introse and the descendance is longitudinal. The pollen grains are characteristically tricolporate. Now the female part of the flower called as gynoecium. Gynoecium comprises of two carpels. These are fused together, that's why called as syncarpus. Ovary is inferior, it is bilocular with a single ovule in each of the locules, or sometimes we can have two ovules per locule, but most often one of the ovules is abortive. The ovules, they have a pendulous shape, they are anatropous, they are unitagmic, and they are also tenuinuslate. The styles are swollen at their base, and they form a nectar secreting structure at the apex of ovary. This structure which secretes nectar is called as stylopodium. In fact, the structure stylopodium is characteristic of Apiaceae flowers. This stylopodium can even persist in its fruit. The stigmas are two. These are capitate in shape or sometimes truncate. They are not papillate, they are non-papillate. The placentation is called as apical axile. That means in between apical and axile. The fruits in Apiaceae, they are schizocarp of mericarps. What is this schizocarp of mericarps? These are basically comprised of two dry segments. Each of these segments we call it as mericarp. These two dry segments, they split apart at maturity, but they are attached to a common central stalk called as carpophore. Fruits, they have globular to elongated oil canals called as vitty, which are present inside the fruit wall. The fruit surface is smooth, or very often it is ribbed. Sometimes it is covered with hairs, scales, or bristles. Or we can have these fruits like plaited, or they can have even wings. Within these fruits, we have the seeds having small embryo. Endosperm is oily. Now, let us discuss the pollination system in Apiaceae. In the case of Apiaceae, we have usually small flowers. These small flowers, they are typically densely aggregated, as I already mentioned, in the form of an inflorescence called as umbel. That's why they are pollinated by a wide range of small nectar gathering insects like flies, beetles, bees, and moths. Cross pollination in Apiaceae flowers is mostly favored by a phenomenon called as protandry. Now the fruit dispersal. As we have dry schizocarpic fruits in Apiaceae, that's why they are wind pollinated. The fruit segments present in genera like Daucus, they are covered by structures called bristles. These bristles help the fruits to get dispersed by external agencies. Now let us discuss the second part of today's lecture, that is systematic position of Apiaceae. We will just highlight few of the prominent classification systems. Let us start with Bentham-Hooker's system of classification, how they classified the family Apiaceae. Bentham and Hooker classified it under the class Dicotyledons, subclass Polypetalae, series Calciflorae, and the order Umbellales, as it was previously known as Umbelliferae. That's why the order Umbellales. Arthur Cronquist, an American taxonomist, gave a classification under which the family Apiaceae has been given the division Magnoliophyta, class Magnoliopsida, subclass Rosidae, and the order Apiales. Then the Armand Takhtajan, a Russian taxonomist who gave an evolutionary classification. Under his classification, this family Apiaceae is classified under the division Magnoliophyta, class Magnoliopsida, subclass not the Rosidae of Arthur Cronquist but Cronidae. He also incorporated one more rank called as superorder and gave Apiaceae a superorder by the name Araliinae. And again the order not Umbellales or Apiales but Araliales. Dahlgren, he also gave a classification of angiosperms. Under his classification, this family Apiaceae has been recognized under the class Magnoliopsida, subclass Magnolidae, superorder Araliinae, and the order Araliales. Robert Thorne gave a classification under which the family Apiaceae belongs to class Angiospermae, subclass Asteridae, superorder Araliinae, and the order Araliales. Very recently, the Angiosperm phylogeny group, who have given a phylogenetic classification, they recognize this Apiaceae family under the clade Eudicots, that is, U means true dicots. Then under the subclade Euasterid second, and the order Apiales. Now let's discuss the third part of today's lecture, that is phylogeny of family Apiaceae. The monophyly of Apiaceae, that means the monophyletic origin of Apiaceae, it's a natural group, is supported by various sources, chiefly morphological data, secondary metabolite data, or very recently the DNA-based data like genes, orbicl and MATK sequence data. These all types of evidences, they support the monophyly of family Apiaceae. The family is mostly closely related. That means that its sister families are Araliaceae, Pitosporaceae, Myodocarpaceae. These four families, that's Apiaceae and the rest of the three sister subfamilies, Araliaceae and Pitosporaceae and Myodocarpaceae, they are placed under a single order Apiales. The Apiaceae and three sister families, they share the common features, what we call as apomorphies. These apomorphies in these four families are distinctive resin or ethereal oil canals. Also, they show the presence of Folcoroinone polyestylenes. And lastly, they have an apomorphy that all these four families, they have a tiny embryo. While as the family Apiaceae, it includes herbaceous taxa having bicarpellate dorsally flattened ovary, and they have their fruits schizocarps, which have a carpophore and oil canals called vitae. On the other side, its sister family by the name of Araliaceae, it includes not herbaceous taxa but woody taxa, having not bicarpellate always, but from bicarpellate to pentacarpellate ovary. They have not schizocarps as a fruit, they have globose drupes, and which characteristically lack oil cavities. Although the members of Apiaceae and Araliaceae that I have just mentioned, how they differ from each other, they are distinct from each other, but yet there are some genera which are in between these two families. These genera are Myodocarpus and Delarbrea. That's why their classification, their taxonomy has been always problematic. These two genera, Myodocarpus and Delarbrea, they are sometimes placed under a separate family, Myodocarpaceae. This Myodocarpaceae, some of the authors, they believe that it represents a remnant of a basal taxonomic complex, which is characterized by a woody habit, stipulate leaves, and a bicarpellate ovary, and lastly a schizocarpic fruit. Several clades, what sometimes is called as subfamilies, can be recognized within the family Apiaceae. First of all, the subfamily Saniculidae. Examples are genera like Sanicula eryngium. They are characterized by broad leaves with hairy or serrate leaf margins. They have a stylopodium which is separated from the style by a narrow groove. Here, the fruit is scaly or spiny, and the oil cavities, what are called as vitae, they are poorly developed. One more subfamily, Epidoideae, have compound umbels. They have stylopodium, but they lack groove. Carpophores are here forked, and the mericarps are attached at its apex. The subfamily Epidoideae is represented by common genera like Coriandrum, Angelica, Epium, and Daucus. The Saniculidae and Apioideae, the two subfamilies that I have mentioned, these together they can also form a clade. This is supported by apomorphies like both of these subfamilies. They have a herbaceous habit, they lack stipules, they have elongated oil canals in their fruit, and also based on the recently DNA-based sequence data. At the same time, some genera like Mackenlia, Centilla, they are anomalous. Both the genera, they have stipules and have a well-developed endocarp, but they lack oil cavities, that is the vitae in their fruit. Nevertheless, Macanlia is a woody genera and is similar to Apiaceae in many features. At the same time, while the related genera Centilla is herbaceous and has a schizocarpic fruit. Recent molecular studies have indicated for a substantial rearrangement of traditional classification of Apiaceae. For instance, the genera which were previously included in the subfamily Hydrocotyloideae do not form a clade, and it is believed to be a polyphyletic. That's why some workers have shifted these two genera to Apiaceae, Hydrocotyle to Apiaceae and Centilla to Macanliaceae. Majority of the workers place these two genera under Apiaceae on the basis of DNA sequence data, although these genera are believed to be basal to the two subclade earlier subfamilies Saniculoideae and Epidioideae together. Recently, Angiosperm phylogeny group, they have recognized Macanliaceae as a subfamily Macanloideae under the family Apiaceae and have added one more subfamily Azorelloideae. Thus, in all, they have recognized 4 subfamilies. Number 1, Macanloideae, number 2, Azorelloideae, and the other 2 being already mentioned Saniculoideae and Epidioideae. Now let us discuss the diversity of this family Apiaceae. At present, the family is represented world over by about 450 genera having more than 3,500 species. Some of the species-rich genera in this family are Eryngium having 230 species, Ferula and Pimpinella having 150 species each, Bipilurium having 100 species. The 2 genera by the name of Lobantium and Heraclum, they have 60 species each. Angelica have 50 species. 2 more genera by the name of Sanicula and Chirophyllum, they have 40 species each. Members of this family Apiaceae, they are widespread all over the world, but their main distribution is in the north temperate regions of the world. Now let us discuss the last part of today's lecture, that is economic importance of family Apiaceae. The members of family Apiaceae, they are of huge economic importance. The family contains many important plants that are used as spice. I will mention the common name and their scientific names. These spicy plants are like fennel, Funiculum vulgare, coriander, Coriandrum sativum, caraway, Carum carvi, anise, Pimpinella anisum, celery, Apium graviolanus, even our own Kala Zira by the name of Bunium persicum, parsley, Patrocillinum, cumin, cuminum, or the dill, anethum. These are the various common spices that belong to the family Apiaceae. Some of the species which belong to the family Apiaceae, they are used as food, such as common carrot. Its scientific name is Daucus carota variety steva, and even the parsnip, scientifically known as Pastinaca steva. These two, Daucus carota variety stevas and Pastinaca stevas, they are used as root crops. Many members are extremely poisonous in this family Apiaceae, such as Cicuta, Conium, etc. In fact, the poison hemlock, it was obtained from the plant Conium maculatum. Conium maculatum also belongs to the family Apiaceae. It is the same plant of which Socrates is said to have drunk the extract in execution. Many species of Apiaceae, they have medicinal value. Some of the species of Ferula, Heraclum, Angelica, they are used in traditional medicine. Some of the species of Apiaceae, they are noxious weeds. Some of these are Daucus carota, Eryngium foetidum, Cyclospermum leptophyllum, and many more which are noxious weeds throughout the world. Dear students, with this we come to the end of today's lecture that was on the topic Taxonomy and Diversity of Family Apiaceae. In this lecture, we discussed the taxonomy of family Apiaceae, then we discussed the systematic position of Apiaceae, then the phylogeny of Apiaceae. Phylogeny of Apiaceae was followed by the diversity of family Apiaceae, and lastly, we highlighted the economic importance of this family Apiaceae. Hope you have enjoyed today's lecture. See you again with some another topic. Till then, goodbye.